There are paintings that are not merely looked at, they are inhabited. One stands before them and feels the air change its weight, the light pausing for a second before it touches the canvas, as if time itself had folded within silence. So it is worth Lucifer, painted in 1890 by Franz von Stuck. It is not merely a work of art, it is a presence, a body suspended between darkness and thought. First encounter is not intellectual but physical. Your gaze collides with his, and for a few seconds, no distance seems to exist between viewer and painting. Something, an invisible vibration, a magnetism, a quiet suspicion makes you understand that it is not we who observe the fallen angel, but he who observes us. In the half-light of the canvas, the body appears, crouched, contained, monumental. There are no wings, no flames, no trace of the celestial war from which the myth was born. No blood, no chains, none of the infernal architecture imagined by centuries of fear. Only a naked male body, perfectly proportioned, folding into itself, as though thought were a cage. His skin, polished and metallic, seems to breathe. The light that glides over it does not come from outside, but from within. As if matter still held a luminous memory, a residue of divinity. That light is the soul of the painting. It does not illuminate, it reveals. The darkness surrounding the figure is not a backdrop, but a living substance, a space with density. Stuck's black is not emptiness, it's matter. It is the same black used by dreams, the black that exists before color. And within that space, the angel bends forward, his face inclined, elbow resting on one knee, his hand supporting his head. There is no visible drama, but the inner tension is unbearable. The gesture is universal, the gesture of a man who thinks, but here, thought carries a physical weight, almost painful. In that suspended instant, Stuck captures the image of knowledge. As punishment, Lucifer does not lament, he does not suffer, he does not beg, he observes. There is stillness, here not peace, but vigilance. His eyes, half sunken in shadow, shine with a cold intelligence, a lucidity that seems directed toward the viewer. It is the gaze of one who has understood too much, and that is Lucifer's true sin, to have seen what should never have been seen. Pride, rebellion, the desire to be equal to God, these are nothing but the natural consequences of consciousness. Stuck does not paint a monster, he paints the first thinker. His hell is not made of fire, but of lucidity. The century in which Lucifer was painted was sick with reason. Europe trembled between science and spiritual emptiness. Faith was collapsing, and in its place grew a fascination for the occult, for symbols, for the invisible forces that reason could not explain. In that context, Stuck became an alchemist of the soul. His painting does not copy reality, it translates it. Each of his works is an equation between light and shadow, desire and guilt, matter and spirit. In Lucifer, that equation reaches its purest form. There is nothing superfluous, only body, thought, and silence. In Munich, where the artist lived, the work was met with confusion. Academic critics called it dark, impious. The religious regarded it with suspicion, unable to accept that evil could wear such a human, serene, beautiful face. Yet among the young artists and philosophers of the time, the painting was understood instantly. In it, they saw the allegory of a new era, the era of the individual who dares to think for himself. Even if that thought condemns him, the angel's body is an architecture of contained light. Each muscle seems to contract inward, as if the soul itself clung to matter to keep from dissolving. There is no heroism, no defeat, something more ambiguous, more human, a consciousness trapped in its own clarity. If paradise is innocence, the fall is knowledge. And Stuck, with the precision of a surgeon and the sensitivity of a poet, he represents that fall not as violence, but as comprehension. The color of the painting breathes slowly. Dark tones dominate, but within them are infinite nuances. Black opens into greens, browns, blues, metallic grays. The light travels timidly across the body, as if afraid to awaken it. On the face, the skin glows like wet stone. The line of the shoulder forms a curve that seems about to break into shadow. The background is absolute, but not uniform. It vibrates, it pulses. There are places where darkness seems denser, as though it held motion. It is a silence that hums. The artist's technique is meticulous, almost religious. Stuck works in glazes layer upon layer of diluted oil, allowing the color to breathe between each application. The brushstroke is invisible. There are no traces of process, only the final perfection. A smooth, tense surface from which the body seems to emerge out of the darkness itself. That technical purity produces a strange effect. The figure seems alive, yet trapped. It is as though the canvas were a glass prison, and the angel, aware of it, were waiting for the precise moment to break free. The posture of the figure is essential. He is neither falling nor rising. He is still. It is the instant after motion, the echo of an act that has already occurred. The viewer senses that something has happened, a fall, a rebellion, an understanding, but the consequence remains unseen. That temporal ambiguity is the signature of the work. Lucifer does not belong to narrative time, but to inner time. It is the moment when thought transforms into destiny. Many years later, art critics and philosophers would agree that this painting marked a turning point in the representation of evil. Before Stuck, the devil was a symbol of punishment and deformity. After him, he became a metaphor for modern consciousness. Lucifer ceased to be the enemy of God and became the mirror of man. And that transformation was possible thanks to the artist's gaze. Stuck did not paint from religion, but from doubt. Not from morality, but from curiosity. Franz von Stuck was a solitary man, disciplined, meticulous, introspective. He taught generations of artists in Munich, but silence ruled. His studio, he painted at dawn, beneath a yellow light that turned his canvases into visions. He used to say that darkness was the color of the soul. Perhaps that is why his Lucifer needs neither heaven nor hell. The void is enough. In that void, the mind creates a thought that looks at itself and finds no answer. Sometimes, standing before the painting, one feels the air stop. The sounds of the museum vanish, and only the space suspended between the angel's gaze and ours remains. That silent exchange, that invisible current, is what makes Lucifer a living painting. It does not impose, it hypnotizes. It does not shout, it thinks. It does not seek redemption, it refuses it. In every stroke, Stuck deposits a meditation on the human condition. The angel's body, enclosed within itself, reflects the modern soul filled with knowledge, yet emptied of comfort. The light that runs across it is thought. The darkness that surrounds it is the cost of that thought. In that relationship between clarity and shadow lies the mystery of the painting. Every true knowledge illuminates but also burns. Thus begins the story of Stuck's Lucifer, a being who did not fall from weakness, but from intelligence. An angel who, in his desire to know more, became a mirror of humanity. There is neither guilt nor hope in his face, only the calm of one who has accepted his fate. It is the portrait of thought when there is no one left to pray to. The angel's body seems to shift slightly within the darkness, as if it were breathing. It is a technical effect achieved through the finest glaze that Stuck layers one atop another, allowing the underlying color to shimmer through the upper tone. That vibration transforms the stillness of the painting into something alive. It is not a body represented, but a presence that observes. In this painting, light plays the role of consciousness. It does not illuminate to show, but to reveal. It is a light that belongs not to the external world, but to the mind. If one follows it carefully, one perceives that it emanates from the angel's chest, ascends to his face, and dissolves within his gaze. It is an inner light, almost spiritual, that survives the fall. That, perhaps, is the central paradox of the painting. The fall does not destroy the light, purifies it. Lucifer has not lost divine clarity. He has transformed it into thought. The dark background that envelops the figure is equally symbolic. It does not represent hell nor night, but the abyss of introspection, the space of thought before language, where everything exists but nothing is defined. Stuck, who was also a student of symbolic psychology, knew that black is not the negation of light, but its origin. Within that primordial space, the angel becomes a pure idea, an archetype, in German symbolism, of which Stuck was one of the great exponents, was born precisely from this need to unite art and philosophy. While in France the Impressionists were preoccupied with external light, the German symbolists searched for inner illumination. In Lucifer, that difference becomes evident. The painting does not depict the visible world, but the invisible one. The artist transforms the canvas into a mirror of his era's collective soul. At the end of the 19th century, the Western world was obsessed with the figure of the fallen angel. Symbolist poets, from Baudelaire to Rilke, wrote of the tragic beauty of a being who loves the light yet belongs to the shadows. Painters, musicians, and writers alike saw in Lucifer the first artist, the first rebel, the one who defies divine order out of love for knowledge. Stuck, with his silent brush, gave that idea a body. But his Lucifer is not romantic. He is not Milton's melancholic hero, nor the theatrical demon of French Romanticism. He is colder, more cerebral, more human. Stuck strips away all rhetoric. His angel neither weeps nor roars, he thinks, and within that thought lies his damnation. There is no greater suffering than that of one who understands his destiny and accepts it with serenity. The entire painting revolves around that acceptance. On the angel's face, light gathers along a diagonal that crosses the forehead, nose, and cheekbones. That diagonal divides the face into two halves, one illuminated, the other swallowed by shadow. It is the painting's most powerful visual metaphor. Light and darkness are not opposed, they coexist. Neither dominates the other. This coexistence is the essence of Stuck's symbolism, the irreconcilable duality of the human being. We all carry within us a piece of heaven and a fragment of abyss. And on Lucifer's face, those two halves look at each other and recognize themselves. The painting then ceases to be a scene and becomes a philosophical mirror. Each viewer encounters his own fall. For, in truth, what Lucifer represents is not rebellion against God, but rebellion against ignorance. It is a story of the mind that dares to know. In that daring lies both beauty and condemnation. Knowledge illuminates, but it also separates. Whoever sees the truth can no longer close his eyes. Stuck transforms that idea into pigment. The painting itself seems to know something. It cannot speak. As one steps back from the canvas, the angel's body grows clearer. As one approaches, it darkens. It is as though the work breathes according to our distance. That oscillation turns the visual experience into meditation. To look at Lucifer is to confront one's own light and one's own shadow. It is not a painting to be observed. It is a painting that observes you. The artist's gesture was so radical that it forever changed the representation of evil. From that moment on, the devil ceased to be grotesque and became a metaphor for lucidity. In that sense, Stuck did not merely paint a myth, he painted an aesthetic revolution. In 1890, to depict the fallen angel with dignity was an act of provocation. In the conservative Germany of the Empire, where religion and nationalism intertwined, Lucifer was a silent challenge. Yet such audacity was consistent with the artist's vision. For Stuck, art must be a mirror of the soul, not a moral sermon. Many years later, when his painting was exhibited again in Munich, critics rediscovered its depth. One wrote, "In Lucifer's face lies the portrait of the 19th century, the century that lost God and found itself." That sentence captures the painting's power entirely. Lucifer is not the enemy of heaven, but the symbol of man walking alone, carrying light as his curse. In that sense, the painting transcends time. It speaks of the moment when humanity understood that knowledge does not always redeem, that reason can also be a form of punishment, and in that realization, Stuck found the most unsettling kind of beauty, the beauty of thought conscious of its own fall. Time has not dimmed Lucifer. On the contrary, each decade seems to find a new meaning within him. In the years following its creation, the painting was seen as a scandal. The idea that the rebellious angel could be beautiful and introspective defied the religious tradition that needed him to be monstrous in order to preserve its moral function. But Stuck was not seeking scandal, he was seeking truth. His Lucifer was not a denial of the divine, but an exploration of the mind that questions it. As the 20th century advanced with its wars, revolutions, crises of faith, and existential despair, humanity, like the angel in the painting, came to know both the power of knowledge and its cost. After the bombs, after the ruins of dogma, Lucifer's gaze became universal. He no longer spoke only of religion or sin. He spoke of the human condition itself. In the museums where the painting is displayed today, people react in much the same way. No one passes by quickly. They stop in silence as though stepping into a conversation that began centuries ago. There is an ancient magnetism in that face. Children look with curiosity. Adults with reverence. Some see it as a portrait of pride, others as an image of despair. But all, at some point, recognize themselves. For what Stuck painted was not a distant myth, but a reflection of our own duality. If one looks closely at the angel's eyes, one notices they are not painted black, but in an indefinable tone between amber and copper. That chromatic choice is no accident. In the alchemy of color, copper is the metal of Venus, symbol of desire, but also of judgment. Lucifer, then, is not only the angel of knowledge, but also the angel of desire. His rebellion is not born of hatred, it is born of love for truth. His interpretation, profoundly human, separates him from the demon and brings him closer to man. In the shadows that surround him lies an almost imperceptible texture. The trained eye detects a vibration, a faint movement, as though the darkness itself were breathing with him. Stuck achieves this through layers of translucent pigment that allow light to pass from the depths of the canvas. It is a technical process that transforms color into atmosphere. The result is a living darkness, a shadow that moves, and in the heart of that shadow, the body glows with a radiance that belongs to no earthly world. The artist knew that the true power of art lies not in showing, but in suggesting. That is why Lucifer reveals nothing directly. There are no obvious symbols, no literal narrative. Everything is implied, and in that implication, the painting becomes a personal experience. Every gaze builds its own meaning. In that interpretive freedom lies its strength. Stuck does not dictate, he proposes. He does not impose emotion, he awakens it. If the body is the matter of the painting, the gaze is its spirit. Within it gathers the thought of an entire civilization. Philosophers have seen in Lucifer the metaphor of modern man, conscious, free, and tragic. The being who has lost the comfort of innocence and gained the weight of thought. In that sense, the painting belongs not only to the 19th century, it belongs to every age. Each generation rediscovers itself in his eyes. After the war, many critics saw in the work a prophetic symbol, the face of the century to come, a century capable of creating technological wonders and, at the same time, unimaginable horrors. Lucifer, the bearer of light, became the emblem of that contradiction, intelligence without compassion. The painting was studied in universities, reproduced in books on philosophy and aesthetics, and yet its mystery remains intact. Every rational analysis stumbles upon the same thing, an emotion that cannot be translated. The true secret of the painting lies in its silence. That silence is not emptiness, but density. It is the pause between thought and word, the moment when the mind grasps something language cannot yet express. It is the border where faith ends and consciousness begins. And on that border, Stuck places the viewer. Art becomes a metaphysical experience. There is something profoundly cinematic in the composition. The painting is structured like a close-up, a single character, no background, no external action. It is an interior scene sequence of thought. One might imagine that Lucifer has just fallen, and upon opening his eyes, he understands his fate. But Stuck freezes time precisely there, in the instant when understanding replaces fear. That infinite stillness is the heartbeat of the work. The metallic tones of the skin contrast with the softness of the face. This formal contradiction reinforces the central idea, the spirit trapped in matter. The flesh, bright and solid, is the prison of light. But that light does not die, it seeps through, it lingers, it resists. Stuck turns matter into metaphor. The body is the prison of the soul, thought as the fire that cannot be extinguished. In that tension between body and spirit, between shadow and radiance, lies the visual poetry of symbolism. It is not about painting what one sees, but what one feels before the unseen. Stuck understood this better than his contemporaries. While others sought to depict ideal beauty, he dared to reveal the beauty of doubt. In Lucifer, doubt becomes sublime. For more than a century, the painting has inspired countless reinterpretations. Some see in it a portrait of modern narcissism, humanity's fascination with its own mind. Others regard it as a critique of power and ego. Psychoanalysts relate it to the myths of the self, separated from the unconscious, the spirit that isolates itself from its origins. Existentialist philosophers read it as a manifesto of the free being, one who obeys nothing but his own conscience, even if that means living in darkness. None of these interpretations contradict the painting. On the contrary, they enrich it. Lucifer is, by definition, an inexhaustible work. Each era adds a new layer of meaning, just as Stuck added layers of paint. And within each layer lies a different truth. The work changes with the world, yet it never distorts. It remains faithful to its essence, the mystery of thought illuminated by shadow. If one stands before it long enough, a subtle detail begins to emerge. The angel seems about to move, not because there is dynamism in his posture, but because his silence is expectant. One feels that the painting contains both a before and an after, but chooses to show neither. Stuck freezes him within the eternity of thought. It is an infinite instant of breath suspended between the heaven he lost and the earth he has yet to conquer. And then, at that precise point, the painting ceases to be a painting. It becomes a question. What does it truly mean to fall, to lose grace, or to gain consciousness? What is more divine, obedience or understanding? The viewer, like the angel, faces a dilemma without answer. Stuck offers no comfort, he only reveals the beauty of the abyss. That is the strength of Lucifer. It belongs to no religion and no school. It belongs to the vastest territory of all the human soul. It is the portrait of intelligence daring to look inward and discovering, at its core, a shadow, but also a spark. For even in his fall, the angel shines. In his eyes still lives the light that defied heaven, and it is that light which, more than a century later, continues to illuminate all who behold him. Ultimately, Lucifer is a meditation on freedom. Not the freedom of the body, nor even of the spirit, but the freedom of thought, the freedom to question, to doubt, to refuse what is given. But freedom, what religion calls sin, and philosophy calls consciousness, is the very essence of the human being. And Stuck paints it with the reverence of one who understands that rebellion is not an act of hatred, but of search. That is why his angel is not dark, but luminous within the shadow. He is not defeated, he is awake. He does not hide, he himself. He does not destroy, he understands. In him, evil dissolves, and what remains is pure intelligence, naked, vulnerable, and powerful. When the viewer steps back from the painting and looks at it one last time, they carry away more than an image. They carry a sense of depth, of question, of mirror. For Lucifer, in truth, does not show us himself, it shows us ourselves. Each gaze returns the reflection of a mind struggling with its own light, and that is why the painting never ages. It remains so contemporary, so disturbing, so necessary. In the museum, under dim light, The angel remains silent. Darkness surrounds him, light caresses him, and time itself watches. Nothing moves. Yet in his stillness, thought continues to burn. Lucifer, the bearer of light, has not entirely fallen. He is merely paused pensivate, the threshold between heaven and the human mind.